Good evening, race fans. Welcome to the Core Racing Network tonight. Round 3 of the CSRL Season 7 GT3 Series, and we are here at Road Atlanta. First 2 rounds have been quite exciting at Suzuka and Alta Park last week, and Road Atlanta is a track that's maybe a little bit more designed for GT3 racing. It's maybe a little bit wider, but just all in all, the track kind of leans towards some good GT3 racing, some nice long straightaways. You got some tricky sections. The S's are certainly going to be a place that I'm going to be looking at. You got the double right-hander, as you see at the top of the screen right there. Definitely some tricky little spots, and then you finish up with a chicane and then kind of a blind up and over right-hand corner to end out your lap. But going to be a good one here tonight. We got a nice size field once again here for the boys here at CSRL. Carl Hamwork joined in the booth by Joe Sullivan. Joe, round number 3, first 2 were not disappointing at all.
No, they were not. I mean, very good racing these first 2 races, and now we get to see what these boys can do here at Road Atlanta, and I'm excited. These 2 races have been exciting to watch and to broadcast, and these boys have been putting on a pretty good show here, so I'm ready for another one.
Well, we're going to go ahead and bring in, we got a couple of guys here that we're going to interview. Just keep these pre-race interviews going here. First one we're going to bring in tonight here is going to be AJ Roderick, and he is the driver of the number 56 Lambo here tonight. And AJ, a good showing out there at Suzuka. You get a top 5 last week. Left a little bit to be desired, I guess, at Alta Park. So how do you think your season's going so far? How do you look at the race here tonight, and kind of what's your outlook on the rest of the season?
Well, the first race went pretty well, other than just, you know, missing a little bit on our fuel stop. I took a little more fuel than everybody else and lost a couple spots. But, yeah, last week I think everything went wrong. I messed up qualifying, messed up my pit strategy, took tires by accident. So I think really the biggest thing for me this week is just minimizing mistakes. And I think as long as I can minimize mistakes, I think we should be able to be running for top 5s every week.
So I talked a little bit about Road Atlanta being a little bit more of a GT3 type track. At Suzuka, you could say it is. Alta Park was a little bit tighter, but Road Atlanta is one that clearly with the Petit Le Mans happening later this season is the track that the GT3s are a little bit more familiar with. So how do you feel your chances are here tonight?
I think it's going to be a little bit easier tonight. You know, last week track position was so important because of how small and narrow it was that you really couldn't pass. But based on the speeds, it looks like there's a lot of guys that are really close. So if they're making mistakes, it'll be a lot easier to, you know, attack and be able to gain positions off their mistakes. And there's definitely going to be a lot more passing opportunities.
Well, we will see what you can do out there tonight. Obviously, would love to see, I'm sure, a good finish to move your way up the point standings here. Not too far back. I mean, it's a quick little 6-race season, so it's really tough to have that one, you know, bad race anywhere in there. But you never know. I mean, everybody else can certainly have that. We've seen some ups and downs even late in the races here for both the first 2. So we'll see if we can maybe talk to you after the race in a top 3. But just in case we don't, anybody you want to give a shout out to or thanks to before we let you go?
Yeah, I'd like to thank my teammates Alan Elwood and James Scioli. James not going to be able to make it tonight, but Alan does all of our paints work, and we all work pretty well together trying to, you know, maximize our speed and testing and practice. You know, realistically, without them, I probably wouldn't be as fast as I am.
Well, I will make sure that we keep an eye on Alan. I know you made it a point that we need to keep an eye on Alan for after last week there.
Yeah, Alan's interesting. He's definitely got very good pace. He's also very new to the GT3, which, you know, changes things. But you know, he's getting the hang of these cars, so he's going to be a force to reckon with here shortly.
All right, well, we'll see if you are here tonight, and if you are, when we'll talk to you in the top 3 afterwards. But either way, have a good race, and we'll see you out on the track.
All right, thank you so much.
That is AJ Roderick. Again, he is the driver of the 56 Lamborghini here tonight. The next one we're going to bring in the booth here is going to be Skylar Vickroy, and just trying to see, looks like he's got us muted right now, so he can't even hear.
I think he just went on track to.
What I'm saying, so yeah,
qualifying.
We'll put him back down there for now, and we'll keep an eye and see when he's done with qualifying, and then we'll try and bring him in. But while we're doing that, we'll take a look over here at the standings so far, and you see Timothy Ponzi on top of the boards as he's had a really good start to the season, out there to a 10-point lead over Craig Jancic, Marco Chacon, and the man we gotta keep an eye on there, Alan Elwood, there in 4th place. Frank Bassano top 5 there for the pro class, and then over in the AM class we got Randall Ayers, John Seamer, Garrett Pittman, Gray Welch, and Brandon Potts rounding out your top 5 in the AM class. But I mean, these AM class drivers have certainly been able to mix it up just as well, and I think really what we need to do, can we just fast forward for the first maybe 35 minutes there, Joe, and just get right to the end of the race, because these endings for the first 2 weeks have just been pretty epic.
Yeah, I know. I mean, these boys have been, people have been having their problems here throughout the race, but it seems like late in the race, that's when all heck breaks loose and disaster hits a lot of guys all at once. So let's see how they can handle here at Road Atlanta, which is. I'm excited to see these guys in the draft too. I mean, that's kind of a part I like about racing. Being from the oval side, you get the free speed from the draft. So I'll be interested to see how they handle that here. I
think having a little bit of an option to have a straightaway and break into a corner and maybe outbreak somebody going in the corner too is what these guys are going to enjoy here. Haven't really had that much opportunity to do that in the first 2 races, but certainly a couple opportunities here to get a good run on somebody. The draft is going to be there. I don't think it's going to be as prevalent as these guys would like it to be, but it will certainly be there. But you're still going to have to worry about the exits of the corners, getting a good run out of the corner, and then give yourself a chance to set up that pass. But looking down there at the bottom of the screen, I mean, up here from the blimp view, the S's right there do not look like much. They don't look like anything you need to worry about. But I tell you what, I mean, you get in the car and you're coming down the hill of the S's there, it can be frightening, and it's one of those where you miss the first apex, it's going to throw you off that entire section. And really the biggest key spots are basically the top of the hill and the bottom of the hill. Getting into the S's at the top is a little bit blind, where you need to be hitting those apexes, and then coming out down at the bottom, you want to keep as much speed as possible because you got a nice little straightaway to the double right-hander. But you see that little bit of kitty litter out there on the left-hand side of your screen where you're going to be coming out. You overshoot the exit there a little bit. You're going to be going off into there. You catch a curb wrong, and it's going to be like a 130R Suzuka. The back end's going to snap around on you. It's probably, I gotta say, it's the trickiest spot on the track, getting through those S's. But if you can get through clean, get through fast, it'll set you up for a good lap, which these guys are trying to do right now out there in qualifying. And we'll take a look and see. It looks like we got a couple of times out there right now. Craig Jancic on top of the boards with a 1:18.47, and we will show you guys that as we keep an eye on Skylar Vickroy. It looks like he may be done now. Just need to see if we can get him into the chat here. It looks like he's back in the pits, just trying to get him back into the chat here. It looks like he dropped out, but yeah, I mean, again, a couple good races so far for these guys. Joe, what are you looking forward to here tonight? I mean, we've had the first race ended up with some guys having issues at the end of the race. The next one ended up being fuel strategy, and we've seen that these guys do need to make a pit stop. So, what you've seen so far, do you feel like it's a better strategy to get in there a little bit early, try and get out and get some clean air? Is it really just dependent on where you're at on the track and where you're at, if you're around a bunch of other guys at the time?
Well, I'm thinking maybe, if I was a little more well-versed in everything, I think my strategy here would be just try to find me a buddy, I think, to somebody who's got the same kind of speed. We've been putting down the same kind of lap times in practice and been racing around him, and feel comfortable around him all year, these first 2 races, or even in previous seasons. And maybe just, maybe talk to him and be like, hey, when do you think I'm out pitting? And then maybe just kind of have like a pit buddy, and that way at least because there is some of a draft here, so at least you're not out there by yourself, and see what kind of times that they are putting on in the draft. Because what we got here, like a second between first to 15th, so it's going to be pretty tight. And I was watching some of the practice, And like what you were saying there earlier about trying to, I mean, there's going to be probably some dive bombs here, and it looked like some of the guys were trying to work on that on some of these braking zones to try to outbrake somebody to try to get a pass done here. Well, because with the S's and the draft, you know, I mean, it's probably going to be your spots to try to get some passes.
Yeah, really, it's kind of a mix, like 50% survive the section, and the other 50% is try and set up that pass and be ready for it. But one guy that is ready now is Skylar Vickroy. He is ready to pop in here. So, Joe, I'm going to bring him in for you, driver of the 28, Skylar Vickroy, and I'll let you go ahead and take it away, Joe.
Hey, Skylar, you got a copy?
Sure do.
Hey, how's it going, man?
It's all right. We're feeling a little shaky going into this one, but I mean, it's very tight in the time, so I think if we avoid some early incidents, it might be all right.
Yeah, just try to get through that first lap or so and see how everything shakes out. I know last week there was a incident lap 1, turn 1. So is that going to be your strategy here tonight? Is just kind of feel it out and what's going to be your like pit strategy too? Because we're just talking about that.
Yeah, for me, it's definitely going to be trying to get an early groove going. I'm not the best at this track, so just kind of lining things up and making sure I'm in a good position in the track and seeing who I'm around too as well. If anybody's faster trying to come through, we'll see how it goes. Once we get a few laps in, we'll see where we're at in the race and just kind of push forward. As far as the pits, for me, it's just, it's probably going to be run it until I'm almost out, put as little as I can, don't take any tires, and hit it. But we'll see how the Porsche is doing with the rear tires when we get to that point of the race.
Okay, yeah, because we were talking about the pit strategy and maybe what to do with that, and maybe try to find a pit buddy or you know how that would work with the draft here and everything, and trying to maybe follow along somebody who is kind of the same speed as you. I seen you were in, was it 8th in points or 7th in points so far? Somewhere around there.
Yeah, I think so, like 7th or 8th. Yeah, you're right.
How was the first 2 weeks going for you?
They're good. Last week, I thought I was going to be like top 15 at best and hung in there for an actual 7th place finish. So I think we're looking at this very similar thing here today where it's going to be, you know, maybe a top 10 is good. And if we get anything higher than that, then it's just the cherry on the top. I've got a couple teammates in here, so maybe one of us can, or a couple of us can link together and get the Porsches pushing down the draft in the back straight, because I think we're going to lose out pretty heavy to a few of the cars there today.
Is that your plan as a team to maybe kind of get together if you can? I mean, not like obviously force it or anything, but if it happens, it happens.
Yeah, if we see each other on track, we really try to help each other out until the last 2 laps. Then it's kind of like, hey, do what you're going to do. But we'll get out there. I got my teammate Greg. He's out here. Brandon's out here. We've got Christian and Corey. A couple of those guys are in the amp, so they'll be doing their own thing. But me and Greg tend to run around each other a lot. So if we do see each other on track, we will certainly be trying to make our way forward together.
All right, and before we put you back out there, anybody want to give a shout out to?
A big shout out to the ZFG crew. That's the racing I'm part of. We got quite a few watching tonight as well. Big shout out to all those guys because they helped me get up to speed, and you know, a lot of coaching involved in the team. And of course, a big shout out to my wife who patiently deals with my racing as she watches a 3-year-old who doesn't want to listen to her right now.
Yeah, I gave a shout out too to my wife because it's the same situation. You know, they got to deal with the rest of the stuff while we're in the race car and doing what we like to do. So, one more question for you. I've been trying to ask people who, because I'm new to this road racing stuff. So, if you were to give somebody a piece of advice who's new into it, what would you tell them?
Patience is key. Don't start in a car that's, you know, a lot of power and a lot of downforce. Learn a little bit earlier on, and spend a lot of time on your brakes. Learning how to hold a consistent brake pressure will put you in a good spot to advance rather quickly and have a lot of control with the car.
All righty. Well, I appreciate that.
Not a problem. All right, boys, I'm gonna get ready for the race. Thank you so much for the interview, and maybe we'll see you on the other side, but probably not.
All right. Good luck.
All right, that is driver of the 28, Skylar Vickroy, and yeah, we're just about ready to fire these things off. Just want to give a quick shout out to our sponsor here for the series, and that is 4D Racewear. Again, makers of ultimate sim racing shoes and custom apparel designed for sim racing by sim racers. 40 sim racing shoes, custom engineered to connect racers to the pedals in a way no other racing shoe can, while still providing the comfort needed for those double and triple stints. Visit 40racewear.com and check out the latest sim racing products, including the original racing gloves for your feet. We are complete with practice and qualifying for that matter, and it's time to take a look at the results from said qualifying. And starting out with the pro class, it is going to be Marco Chacon on top of the boards with a 118.267. Craig Jancic second in points. He is going to be starting second on the grid here, only 0.2 of a second off than Michael Carrillo, Peter Mueller, Alan Elwood, Jim Dutton, Dan Morera, Brandon Powell, AJ Roderick, Frank Bassano are going to be your top 10. 11th is going to be your points leader, so buried in the pack there a little bit mid-pack is Tim Ponzi, Joseph Carnes, Christopher Siviani Madrigal, Rich Petrucco, Skylar Vickroy, Brendan DeLima, Gregory Mismer, Stephen Price, Sean Brown are going to round out your 20-car pro field. And then we head over, look at the AM class, get back to the top. We got Garrett Pittman with a 119.390. He's going to start on the pole for those guys, or at least the highest up, I should say. Then Corey Frug, Randy Ayers, John Seamer, Jason Potts, Brandon Potts, Jim Herrick, Gray Welch, Christian Torres, Jay Little, your top 10. Work with me, there we go. Glenn Lazan, Brian Farron, Antonio Diaz, Steven Shepard, and Corey Laperouse are going to round out your 35-car field here for tonight. And we are getting ready to go. These guys are all gridded up, and I said it before, I'll say it again. I mean, just the look of all these cars out here, that look right there, if that doesn't get you excited, you need to check your pulse.
35 cars, another big field here tonight. This could be another interesting turn one.
Yeah, that is a turn one. If everybody somehow gets through that and survives, then you'll have the S's to deal with. So we'll take a look and watch these guys, and we'll actually hop on board here real quick just to show you a slower version going up and around. And you see how blind it is coming up into the S turn up here, riding on board with Marco Chacon, and then real tight turn to the right, and then you're kind of setting up to try and go as full speed as possible, but again, just really blind until you finally get down about midway through these S's. Here it's not as bad, not as challenging, but right here you want to stay as far to the right as possible to set you up with a good left-hand turn to come out of here, because you're going to end up using the rumble strip on the outside there, and even sometimes going up and over. It is not a penalty to go up and over there and catch the little bit of tarmac on the outside, but you don't want to go out early and catch the kitty litter. Good strong run down into the double right-hand turn down here. And this is another one where it's fast enough and you feel like it's easy enough that it's not going to be an issue. But again, you really want to stay to the left there to set yourself up for a good exit, because that exit right there is by far the most important exit on the track. It sets you up for this long backstretch here, where I would assume you're going to see the majority of your pass attempts, guys clear up some slowdowns if they have them, is going to all happen right here on the backstretch. And it's fast. It's fast coming down here, and coming down. You're coming downhill to the final chicane here. You got to make sure you hit your marks, whether you're trying to outbrake somebody or not. You have to hit your marks, because again, some more kitty litter on the well, not the exit, but straight ahead of you is what's waiting for you if you're not hitting the braking markers well. But tight little chicane here, again, sets you up for another part where you want to get a really good exit right here out of the chicane, because you're flat out up and over. It's blind, but don't be afraid. It's not that scary coming up and over there. You're still flat out all the way through and to the start-finish line, which we will switch over to now as Barney is waving the green flag. We're racing here at Road Atlanta. Take a look at these guys diving into turn number one, and hopefully everybody makes it through clean, as we will start to go up and over and through the S's and just, I mean, car after car after car, a ton of cars. That's your best look at the S turns right there.
Oh, there we go. That's
just a beautiful
right
view watching all the cars come down here, and you see how fast it is, just diving back and forth through the entire section there. But everybody making it through nice and clean so far, heading down into the double right-hand turn here, and so far so good for everybody. But here is where your first test is really going to be, getting out of turn number 7 as quick as possible to set you up down this long straightaway. You see just a train of cars. Right now you may not see too many passes being made, everybody just kind of settling in, but again, only 40 minutes on the clock here, so these guys need to figure out what they want to do pretty quickly here. And if you got to run like right there, Craig Jancic trying to take back second place, and he is going to get sent off there a little bit.
Ooh, easy.
And look at all the cars that are just going past,
Man.
Actually, that was Michael Carullo, I believe. Yes, Michael Carullo is the one that got sent off right there. We'll see if we can get a better look at the actual incident there. And yeah, came over and gets tagged in a little bit more. There's some bumpers, and not sure if the iRacing fishing poles reeled that back in or not, but not a good start there. As there we go. We'll get back to our leader here, Marco Chacon, and a good start here, 3-second lead already. But you see, right what these guys are talking about, just survive that first lap. I mean, you got everybody right there on top of each other. You don't want to lose the draft. You don't want to lose the guy in front of you, but you got to give like a little bit of a breather. You got to give a little buffer. It was a good move there, and it was a pretty clean move there by, trying to talk about Michael Carullo, but just came back across, and I think the car behind him, which was, trying to see here, I believe it was Craig Jancic, looked like he was kind of undecided. It looked like Carullo was maybe going to give him the space there on the right-hander exit the chicane, but then all of a sudden he came across, and it was just two cars going for the same real estate. Just a tough situation there, but we'll see how this thing pans out. I mean, it's going
to work out really well for Marco right now. I mean, that happened right there with second and third place, and that just bottled everybody up, and that pushed everybody back quite a bit. I mean, he's already got 3.2 second lead here over Alan Elwood, who got through all that.
I mean, listen, we got 35 cars out there. Looks like actually only 33 took the green flag here tonight. Sean Brown and Steven Shepard not out there in the field, but 33 cars. It's a big enough track that you can get 33 cars on there. You see them all kind of on one side of the track right now, but to get all those guys through the first lap or so and not have any incidents is asking a lot. Looks like Corey Laperouse may have had a bit of an incident here in turn number 1, and yeah, going wide. There's plenty of grass there, and with iRacing kind of updating the grass there a little bit, you actually have some grip now on the grass. I mean, on the older grass version for iRacing, you've been sliding out right into the wall right there and would have been done.
I have plenty of experience in that department, Carl.
That is one way to take that end of the S's right there for Christian Ortiz Torres. Gets it back on the track and may have had a slowdown, but that could have been a slowdown because of getting into somebody else. Brian Farron having some issues going down through the S's as well. And yeah, I mean, I think if we wanted to, we could probably just park the camera right about here and probably enjoy a bunch of action. I tell you what, if I ever got a chance to get down to the Petit Le Mans or any race here at Road Atlanta, I'm finding a way to get over to this section right here as quick as possible and just camping out, getting a cooler, getting a blanket, whatever it is, and just sitting here and watching all the action coming down through here.
Yeah, this would be a great view to just sit here and watch these boys race all day. Oh man, and just watch all the calamity that happens out here throughout the day.
Garrett Pittman still leading here in the AM class, but right behind him is Randall Ayers trying to keep up with him right now. But we've seen Pittman have a good run last week as well, and obviously Randall Ayers having a pretty good run himself. And whether we thought he was going to make it there on fuel or not, he did. Yeah, plenty to go. Just had the little bit of incident right there at the end that we missed, but it was a certainly a good run for Randall, and he's trying to make it back-to-back here as he's trying to keep up with Garrett Pittman, but a good start here for the 7, trying to keep the back half of the pro class in.
Randall's going 3 for 3. He's talked to us every week so far.
Absolutely.
He's I think the only one so far this year that's talked to us both weeks, and he's right there in second again, just in front of us. Oh, an accident.
And that is one of the guys that we talked to. That is Skylar Vickroy, and oh man, getting into it there with Siviani Madrigal. And both guys spinning, and I'll tell you what, for Siviani, that's not where you want to be parked right there.
Oh, jeez.
And I mean, he's kind of in no man's land. Just about everybody had to get off and go around there one way or another, and finally gets it turned back around. But that's a tough place right there to be parked sideways. I mean, it's already a blind enough corner, then all of a sudden you see a car right there. Oof, no thank you.
I have enough problems as it is. I don't need to avoid a car in the middle of the road.
Looks like problems for our points leader here. This is Tim Ponzi, and he is on the left-hand side of your screen, defending and trying to get aggressive there, but spins it around. And look at all the cars going by. And this is what we talked about. We talked about, you know, we talked to AJ Roderick back there a little bit in the point standings, but anything can happen, and this is your points leader having a horrible start to this race. Went from running up there towards the top 5, and now he is back there buried in the pack. He is 14th currently in the standings.
To bring him up because I see he got up to the 5th position, and I was getting ready to say, you know, he started 11th and he has work cut out for him, but with that incident there with the 2nd and 3rd place guys, he got himself up to 5th, and then just kind of threw it all away there with that little oopsie.
Yeah, it looked like he was worried so much about defending, and then all of a sudden I think he might have outbroke himself, just broke a little bit too late, and it kind of forced him into an aggressive position and tried to make a pass there while he was at it, and just it wasn't meant to be. But still back on the track. Doesn't look like any kind of damage there to the 46, so long race to go yet. Still got another 30 plus minutes to go, so just let cooler heads prevail, just work through the pack, and kind of make the best of the situation as much as you can. But this is a situation right here where if you're a guy like Tim Ponzi, if it gets early enough in the race where you just get into your pit window, it could be a situation where it may be best to hop in early, get out there, see if you can get in some clean air, and you know, if you're out there with nobody around you and you can put down solid laps, lap after lap, before everybody else comes into the pits, it's less guys you got to pass on the track, because you'll be passing them essentially on time.
Yeah, it's probably you know, in that situation, it's probably a good idea really, because he's probably a little heated right now, so he's going to be we're driving, and if somebody gets in his way or holding him up, he's going to get even more irritated, you know, because he's like, I should be up there, you know, fighting for another podium, and maybe come in, and I don't think he had too much damage done to his car, so he shouldn't need a fast repair. But you know, like I said, just get some fuel in it, and then get out there by yourself and just hit some laps.
Going for a pass here on the 75. No, that was the 169. This is actually not for position. The next 3 cars, including the one that is inside of right now, are in the AM class. The top 3 in the AM class. That right there was Corey Frug in the 169. 3rd in the AM class right now that Ponzi just went by. You still got Randy Ayers and Garrett Pittman in the AM class to get around, but a little bit of battle here as Jim Dutton is mixing it up here towards the front of the pack. That was Dan Morera that moves by, and now he is up into 3rd spot. So you got Marco Chacon, Peter Moeller, and Dan Morera, your top 3. As you got Jim Dutton and AJ Reddick at the top 5. And we didn't keep an eye on him early enough, apparently, as Alan Elwood, and it's tough going sideways into the beginning of the S's there. Gets tagged from behind and goes a little sideways, and unfortunately sideways enough, he's got to turn that thing completely around. And again, it's just it is such a heartbreak just watching car after car after car just go flying by you, and there's nothing you do while you're trying to turn your car around. It's just, when you have so many cars on the track like this, that's exactly what can happen.
That looks like really weird. It looked like it was a netcode or some kind of issue. How he just went, I mean, they were straight there. Huh.
This is Jay Little having a bit of an issue here too. Corey Laperouse again having some issues here in turn number 1, and this time he keeps it on the track, but not the way it's supposed to be pointing there. As he's gonna, he gets it back going here. And then Brian Farron having a little bit of issue here too as well. It says that he crashed, and he did, big time. Hard impact there for the 20 into the wall, and we'll see. It looks like, did he tow it back into pits? No, he did get it back going again here, but hard impact, and it doesn't look like that thing is driving too friendly for him here. So Road Atlanta starting to bite here a little bit more than the previous tracks that we've seen, and it's one of those things where this again is more of a GT3-esque kind of track, but that also makes these guys maybe get a little bit more aggressive. They feel like they got a little bit more freedom, and they can reach a little bit more and try and go a little bit harder through the corners or a little bit deeper for a pass. And really, if they just stay calm a little bit and let it come to you, let the passes come to you, it would end up being a little bit better race for some. But it's hard. It's hard to tame yourself. It's hard to just breathe. I know myself. I mean, when I'm in the car, it's hard to run a little bit slower pace. I will 100% tell you right now, I can't. I like whenever I'm in a 12-hour, 24-hour race, and we're in good shape, or we just need to put in some laps and just need to be smooth, I can't do it. The easier I drive, the more I put myself into just a bad situation, or I spin in a spot where it makes no sense to me. And it's because you're so used to driving a certain style on a track and going into the corner a certain way, braking at a certain point, turning in with a certain amount of degree. All of a sudden you change that a little bit, and it's like you're driving a completely different car.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you on, like, maybe the technicality of this track and maybe the fun. Like, if you were to rank it, like, where would it be on, like, both aspects of that, since you're more, I mean, you have a vast more knowledge of road racing than I do, but where would this track kind of rank in those departments?
I rank this up there a little bit higher. I think this is a track that it's kind of, I would say, both beginner and advanced friendly. I mean, it's technical enough that the advanced drivers are going to find a ton of speed more than the beginner drivers, but it's not so difficult that, if you're newer to the road racing, that you can't handle it. I mean, it's one where, especially right here coming up and learning how to take the S's as a beginner, you're going to want to try and figure that out, and either you're going to figure it out or it's going to figure it out for you real quick. But I mean, on a difficulty scale, I don't think it's terribly difficult. Now, obviously, the more laps that you put in here, the more that you'll see that you can run off a little bit here, you can take it a little bit wider, you can take this turn a little bit differently, and you really start to find speed in the track. So, I mean, for me, this ranks up there pretty high in regards to a road track. Just for drivability, it's not too crazy, and it has enough things to kind of make it fun. So we are getting up to 15 minutes into this race very quickly, and it is Marco Chacon that is out there to a 5.5-second lead right now. Was out to 6, but Moeller reeling him in just a little bit here in second place, but doing a good job. As we'll take a look through here, Dan Morera is running currently in third place, rounding out your podium here for the Pro class. Back here in the AM class, same situation. Later from the beginning is Garrett Pittman in the AM class, out there to about a 3.25-second lead. The next car behind him is Tim Ponzi, not for position, but 2 cars behind right there. That is Randy Ayers in second place in the AM, and then John Seamer not too far behind in third place. One thing I am seeing is lot of these guys went with the Lambo here tonight. I mean, you look at the Pro class, and 3 of the top 5 guys are in the Lamborghini, and the other 2 obviously being in the Porsche. But the Lambo and the Ferrari certainly making its name here tonight.
Yeah, I was noticing that too. The bigger body cars here were standing out over the Porsche. Whether that, I mean, I don't know if that's because they got more top end speed. Would that be the reason?
I think it does have some good speed, but me personally, I feel like it's a car that everybody wants to drive, but you need to find the right track to drive it. I mean, it's not the easiest car to handle. It can be, even though it's kind of wider, you think it's a little bit boatier, but to me it seems like it's a little bit more nimble, and it could be why these guys are wanting to run it, especially to get down through the S's. It'll flow maybe a little bit better going down through the S's and even the chicane at the end of the track here. So could be why you're seeing that. But you see right now, Marco Ciccone already up into the back half of the AM class here, getting into traffic. This is the 169, and we've seen the 169 earlier be up there towards the front, and Corey Frug before he had his issues. Now he is marred back in the back. Looks like he is in 13th place in the AM class, so he's got some catching back up to do. And actually, he did not have an issue.
At some point.
Actually, these guys in the back half, not even seen it because it wasn't on my screen, but we've got a lot of takers into pit lane already on lap 8. So I think these guys kind of doing what we were saying, just taking that early pit stop, getting it out of the way, hoping to put some good laps in and some clean air, and then really make the passes on time instead of have to make them on track.
I do have some news from the pits. Looks like, unfortunately, Alan Elwood I think he crashed again after the crash that we showed, and looks like he put it on the hauler for the day.
Yeah, I mean, the first one wasn't too bad, but I certainly can understand if you got into another one right there. This is a tough track to have any kind of issues limping back to the pits and then trying to get back in. I mean, it's any little bit counts, and any points certainly are going to matter. But as we see Corey Frug in the background there, and switched on the wrong person there. Yeah, let's try that again. So Corey Frug right there, and that's what I'm talking about. You have a little bit of like Suzuka in race number 1, 130R. Just you catch that curve on the outside just a little bit wrong, and it's going to throw you for a bit of a loop. Brian Farron coming down through the S's here, and a little bit slow, so he takes to the grass to stay out of the way of these guys, and letting everybody go by before he rejoins on the track.
That looked like it was about to be disastrous for everybody. Luckily, he kind of just got out of the way.
So I should probably go back on my statement a little bit. This track can be beginner friendly, but when you're out here with 35 cars, that can be scary. And you see right there, your overall leader giving the lights there, and the guys just taking to the grass to get out of the way. I mean, it can be very, very hectic, and it could be a track where, I mean, you see it right now, the track map is starting to fill up that you can barely see the track because you got cars around the entire place. And it's not the hardest place to pass, but there's certainly some sections where you're going to have to play follow the leader. You can't force any kind of issues, especially all the way down through the S's. And really, even turn 1 is a place where you feel like you can make a pass, but it's got funky banking to it that it almost feels like it's off camber sometimes, and it wants to send you out towards the grass. And if you go out a little bit too wide, then you're off for turn number 2, and if you're off for turn number 2, you're off for the S's, and it can really ruin the early part of your lap before you know it.
So another question that I have for you is like, so the white lines coming up into is that like your braking points? Because I know a lot of tracks will have like the yardage or whatever, but the tracks that don't, I guess they use those white lines that you can use for your braking zones.
Yeah, I mean, it all depends on the vehicles that you're in with these GT3s. there are boards here, I think, at most of the corners, but I mean, for turn one, you're actually, I believe there's a 200 and a 100 board, and you're actually braking after even the 100 board because you're not getting too hard on the brakes for turn number one and just grabbing a gear or two. So you're braking a little bit later, but coming to these sections here, you're still using the boards. There's boards off there in the trees. I mean, you could use the lines as a reference point, but typically you're still looking at the boards, as most of these corners do have it. Even coming down here into the chicane, you have the boards on the right-hand side.
Okay.
But we are past halfway here in the race, and it's been pretty, I want to say maybe pretty uneventful here for your leaders so far. Both out to a pretty sizable lead, 5.5 seconds for Marco Chacon and 4.5 seconds for Garrett Pittman. But again, Marco in the back of the field here and getting through some traffic, or at least trying to, and it's not easy. I mean, you're coming up on these guys, you've been running a good speed the entire time. That's why you see the lead was at 6 seconds. It's starting to slowly creep down as Muller is not having to deal with the traffic that Chacon is right now. So we'll see if this ends up hindering him and how long it does before he comes into the pits here, as these guys will all be good to go if they come in. But you see right there coming at the end of the S's, he just wants to get by so bad, and right there losing almost a half a second just at the bottom of the S's.
Yeah, it looks like some guys have started to pit here, but I think Skyler said he was going to go as long as he could. So I wonder if that's going to be most of the guys' strategy here, is just to try to take as much fuel as they need to make it to the end there. Just run this whole tank out and then come in and get your couple gallons or whatever you're going to need, and that way you can just make it to the end and do a little splash and dash.
It's a
Marco's putting on he's putting on a blistering pace right now.
Yeah, that he is. He's keeping it in the low 119s when everybody else is in the mid to high 119s. Take a look at Skyler Vickery right now, as he is running 12th in the pro class after he had the issues early on and getting spun out. So good job, just kind of just fighting back and just clicking off the laps here and see what he can do in the second half of this race. And then we'll take a look at our other man that we interviewed pre-race, and that is AJ Roderick, and right there in the top 5, right where he was in race number 1, and certainly doing better right now than the race at Alton Park last week. But he's got Frank Pisano right behind him, just breathing down his neck. This is the closest battle on the track right now for 5th and 6th in the pro class. Still waiting to see these guys come into the pits, as we're having the back half of the pro class in there. Rich Petrucco and Craig Jancic is in. Judd Seymour also in the pits. So pit road's starting to get busy now that we click past the halfway mark. Question is, when will these leaders come in for both the pro and the AM class? And could they be doing the opposite strat? I mean, if I'm Marco and I'm back in that pack right now, I'd be wanting to come in earlier than later, just to get out of the chaos of the back half of the field. But I mean, to each his own. It might be just more advantageous for him to just kind of keep plugging away at those laps and come in when you have to, not when you can.
Yeah, I think right now, he's probably sitting really pretty, because he's got about 5 or 6 cars between him and second place. And it's kind of getting clear up in front of him, because he's got one car in front of him, it's not too, you can see their screen there, and then the other one's way out in front of him. So he may be trying to, he's got a little bit of green, blue skies to maybe put some good laps down and have second stuck behind all these other cars that, he got through. It took him some time to get through them, but now that he is, I wonder if he'll stay out a bit longer. But to counterpoint that, now if you're Frank Pisano or I think they already pitted. Oh, they're pitting right now.
Well, Frank Pisano, Tim Ponzi, and Brendan De Lima still out there, along with Marco Chacon. But yeah, the rest, you see the little P by their name. You got from Morera all the way back. These guys are all in pit lane right now, so we'll see if the short pit ups him out, or maybe this is the time where Marco sees that everybody else is in pit lane, and maybe he makes his right-hand turn in there. And this is it can be a tricky little pit lane to get into. It's right after you come up and over the blind corner here at the end. Again, the blind corner isn't that scary because you're still wide open. But if you're looking to come into the pits, you got to keep it all the way to the right. You see the yellow dashed lines. You got to keep it inside those yellow lines before you come into the pit lane, and it can be a penalty waiting to happen if you're not catching that correctly. But Chicone going to stay out for another lap. Switch back here, second place right now. Pisano, he is going to stay out for another lap. Tim Ponzi now coming up and over. He is going to stay out for another lap here. So the leaders still staying out there, and kind of the same thing right here. But there it is. Garrett Pittman coming into the pits, and you see how tight it is, and it's really blind coming into pit road here. But Brennan DeLima in the pits, Garrett Pittman in the pits. It's going to give Randy Ayers the lead here in the AM class. But we are down to, looks like 6, actually only 5 guys left out there that have not come into the pits. You got our top 4 right now: Marco Chicone, Frank Pisano, Tim Ponzi, and that is actually it for the pro classes. Everybody else has now come in. Then you got Randall Ayers and Glenn Lazan, the only other ones that have yet to come into the pits. And right now, Peter Moeller is running a pretty decent pace as he's come back out of the pits. Right there in 5th place overall right now, 4th place in the pro class. So we'll see right now. Marco is going to come in, see how much of that lead he is still going to have after he comes back out.
It looks like Garrett took tires too, so I wonder if Randy Ayers is going to do the same thing and what these other guys do.
We'll take a look at Marco, see if the car goes up on the jacks or not. And now this is just going to be fuel only for Marco. Tim Ponzi now in, Randy Ayers is in, and that just leaves Frank Pisano and Glenn Lazan as the only ones. And out comes Marco as Peter Moeller is coming through turn number 1. Going to be very close. It's still going to be the lead for Chicone, but it's certainly a lot smaller as the gap is under 5 seconds now. The question is, what can Moeller do here? He's clearly got some fresh air, but the 11 of Chicone also has some fresh air before he gets to the back of the pack one more time. But he's got him in his sights again. Can he do anything to chip into the lead with those tires? I mean, neither of these guys taking tires, but it gives those tires a little bit of a chance to cool off, and you got to warm them back up again. Moeller already out there for a full lap, and Chicone's still going to get them warmed up a bit, but it looks like he's kind of already doing that, and Chicone certainly has a feel for the track here tonight. Over in the AM class, it is still Pittman, and he is out to his 6.5-second lead over Randy Ayers, as we now have Jason Potts is the man in 3rd place. And taking a look back to see, I didn't see any kind of issues.
It's been relatively quiet on the crash side,
which is a good thing for these guys.
yeah.
And yeah, it looks like most of these guys just coming in for fuel only. But Frank Pisano now coming in and making his pit stop as he's coming out. He is going to file out, looks like, in 4th place. So a good job getting in and out. Rich Petrucco now right behind him, right there in 5th place. Dan Moreira going to move himself back up into 3rd. Not sure what happened to Jim Dutton, as he has certainly slid back there as Petrucco trying to show the lights there to Pisano and get him moving on there, or I'm going to make a pass on you.
AJ has fell back to 7th, so he must have had either maybe he took tires or maybe a slow outlap or what happened there, but he went from 5th to 7th because he was up there in the top 5.
You know, looking at some of these pit lane times, they were in the pits for about the same amount of time. Oh, that's not the one I wanted.
Looks like Dutton may have took tires. He had the highest time of almost 17 seconds.
There we go. So yeah, I mean, looking at the times here, it seems like Roderick just had a lot longer time in pit lane altogether. He was in there for about the same amount of time, maybe a little bit longer taking a little bit more fuel than the other guys, but his overall pit lane time was, you know, about 3 seconds slower than everybody else. And when the race is this close and you have very little margin to kind of work through, 3 seconds is huge. I mean,
they had some. That's another thing that I'm learning about road racing. Is like, you know, 3 seconds on oval is a lot, but it's overcomable sometimes, and depending on, you know, this and that. But 3 seconds on, you know, road racing, I mean, that's a lot. I mean, it's, especially when you guys are running, you know, pretty much the same lap time. I mean, you have to find a way to be a little bit faster than him, but then that's 3 seconds, and these laps are so long that it's like, man, I was only like 2 tenths faster than him out that lap, you know? It's like, it's just 3 seconds. It seems like a lot.
Your best battle on the track right now is the battle we're watching right here, and it's Ferrari and Lambo all the way through. Frank Bassano leading the pack here in the Ferrari, Petrucco in the Lambo, Powell in the Ferrari, Roderick in the Lambo, and then Carnes in the Ferrari. So back and forth here all the way through, but this is the battle for fourth, all the way back through 8th position in the Pro class. But we are in the back half of this race, less than 10 minutes to go here, and coming up now, 8.5 to go. It's about time to crank these boys up, turn our mics off, and give you guys a little love to hear it. Sights and sounds here of the CSRL GT3 series, as we had a car go off in the background there, but watching this battle pretty heavily here between Pisano, Petrucco, Hal, and Roderick, and even Carnes and Dutton getting into this mix here. So it may have stretched out a little bit for the top positions there, as Chicone out to a 4.5-second lead over Moeller, who's got a 5-second lead over Marrero, and then 3.5 back to these guys right here. But throw a blanket over the next several positions, as these guys are very close, and from 5th all the way down to 9th place, still not decided. Take a look real quick over in the AM class, and it's been Garrett Pittman the entire time here, as he's got a 10-second lead over Jason Potts, who is now in 2nd, who has gotten past Randy Ayers. But one of the stories that we did not see is our pro class leader having some major issues here, and hard impact there with Chris Stouffer, as it looked like there was some major net code. We'll take a look at it one more time, and this is coming through the final corner here. And yeah, I don't see these guys getting together. Yeah, right there. I don't know if it was just it was either net code or maybe just catching the curbing wrong, but hard impact there for both the 47 and the 46, and both guys towing it back to the pits, and that is going to be in the night for both of them. So big turn of events here in the pro class when it comes to the points. But this is your leader here again. It is Pittman, Potts, and Ayers in the M class, and over here Marco Chicone has been dominating this race. The lead has gotten smaller. It's down to 4.5, but just not enough fight to get to the back of the 11 right now, as Chicone is certainly the man to beat here tonight. So
yeah, he's been on fire. Led it from the beginnings, and just has been on a tear. And this is, I mean, we're going to talk to him maybe after the race, and this is going to be pretty huge for him for this season, because Pozzi having problems. Craig Jenkinson's back in 10th, and Marco was 3rd in points, and he may come, I mean, probably definitely going to come our way here with the points lead. As we have some more carnage on track.
Yeah, trying to see what exactly happened. It looks like, yeah, right there, Brian Farron getting involved. Then we got the 637 there of Joseph Carnes getting involved. He ended up towing back into the pits.
Yeah, Rick
John Seamer in the back here. And just getting a little loose coming down to the S's, getting into the barrier there a little bit. So these guys really pushing here at the end of the race. And Frank Pisano is now stretching out the lead there in 4th place by just a little bit, as we are down to 1 minute to go. And you'll see by the flag stand, it is, I believe, 1 to go here. Just trying to find Barney as he's hiding on me, and there it is. Yeah, white flag
there we go.
In the air here at Road Atlanta. And these guys had to survive here tonight. I mean, it's kind of funny, and we see it on the ovals too, Joe. I mean, you go to tracks where you're looking at like this is going to be rough. This is going to be one of those tracks where there's going to be a ton of cautions. It's going to be a long race, and then all of a sudden it's clean the entire way. I mean, you look back, just on Tuesday with the Core Xfinity Series, going 120 laps clean and green at Iowa. I would have easily thought there was going to be 3-4 cautions, and nothing against the guys. It's just Iowa can be a tough track, and it was certainly being tough to them in practice. But here, this is a track it's made for GT3s. It's probably one of the ones that's most open compared to Suzuka and Alton Park this season, and it's made for these cars, and these guys are having troubles with it. I mean, there's been a ton of guys going off. You see your overall points leader having some issues. No issues right here for the man in the 11. He is going to bring it home. Your winner here at Road Atlanta in the pro class is going to be Marco Chicone. Great run, as he's going to take it by 2.5 seconds, maybe slowing down there a little bit. Ian Moeller coming home in 2nd. Dan Herrera going to bring it home in 3rd place as well. Frank Pisano in 4th. And then Brandon Powell, I keep saying Brandon Powell is going to come home in 5th here in the Pro Class. Garrett Pittman coming around the final corner. He is going to take it wire to wire in the M Class for the victory. Jason Potts still coming through the chicane here, but he is going to hold off Randy Ayers, who's right behind him there, catching up to some traffic here at the end. But Potts in the 57 going to come home in 2nd place. Ayers is going to come home in 3rd. Renazon coming up and over the final bend and going to bring it home in 4th place here in the AM class. And then Jim Herrick, not too far behind, is going to bring it home for a top 5. Man, just a ton of action. We couldn't even really keep up with all the action from the guys, having some issues here. And again, I at least personally don't feel like it's the toughest track, but it does have some blind sections here, and clearly the cars were dancing around a little bit for these guys. Even netcode may be coming into play for some of the issues here, but it's a big turn of events here. And again, in a 6-race season, you can't afford to have a bad finish. But you know, Tim Ponzi, top of the boards in the Pro Class, and really overall looking like he is a very, very tough guy to beat. Has a horrible night. I mean, coming in as a 10-point points leader, finishes 17th overall. It can make and break a season just that quickly. But I tell you what, I think Marco put out a little bit of a warning flag to everybody right now that this was a very, very fast Lamborghini out here tonight. We'll see what he can do the rest of the season. But in the meantime, we'll try and get these guys in here to get some interviews going. But while we do, Joe, I'm assuming first time watching a full race here at Atlanta for sure. But what did you think of the track? What did you think of the guys handling it out there? And you know, kind of what were your takeaways here?
You know, I go back to something that you say a lot, and it's, you know, you talk about the hard tracks and the easy tracks, and it seems like your reference to Iowa is when cars go to a hard track, it seems like it's cleaner because the guys have to, you know, not necessarily tiptoe around, but they have to really be on their game, and maybe just the confidence level isn't there because it's a tough track. But you know, some of these easier tracks where the confidence is high, that's where it gets kind of messy because guys just are throwing it everywhere and have, you know, a little bit more confidence. But a track like this where it's, you know, a little bit tougher for some people, and it's, you know, I just kind of go to that sometimes when you have these messy races, so to speak, you know. So it's it was I actually just have never seen this track before, really. I just got it today. Didn't even know I didn't have it, but I was gonna try to get a couple laps in and see how I felt, but didn't get a chance to. But it's looked like a good time for these guys. I mean, Marco, I'll just ask Marco how to get around here because he seemed to have it, you know, figured out. Him and Pittman, they got it figured out. We'll just ask them in the interview here and see what the key is to getting around Road Atlanta.
Yeah, I think it's one of those tracks where again it's not that difficult to figure out how to get around here, but getting around here fast is certainly a different aspect, and we've seen kind of a clear delineation by the guys that have had experience here and the guys that are maybe a little bit newer to the track. But looks like we have our top 3 at least for the AM class. We'll start with them first, and just gonna get these guys up here, pull it back here a little bit for these boys, and we will start with Randy Ayers here, if it will allow me. We've been having some issues here dragging, but yep, there we go. So we will start with the 66 here of Randy Ayers. Joe, why don't you go ahead and take Randy?
Hey, Randy, you got a copy?
Yeah, I do. Thanks, Joe.
Hey, man, 3 weeks, 3 podiums, 3 interviews. How are you doing it?
Yeah, it's getting to be a habit, isn't it? You know, just try to stick around to the end. Try to stay clean, stick around to the end. That's can't win the race in the first lap, for sure.
Yeah, looks like you were second there for most of the race. And then Potts got around you in that pit cycle there. It looked like you were reeling him in there at the end. Did you have something if we had a little bit more time?
Probably, but you know, he was driving a heck of a race too, so I was pushing as hard as I could to get him. He actually didn't get me on the pit cycle. Apparently, there was a couple of faster drivers that probably had an incident. I'm not sure, but they ended up behind us. And so we ended up getting a battle for position, and I kind of got punted a little bit, but it's all good. It's all good. Came back on, and Joe got around me, and I managed to catch back up, but didn't have enough to get around him.
Is where does Road Atlanta rank on your scale of favorite tracks?
It's one of those tracks that, hey, it's part of the series. Let's do it.
Okay. So you're not seeking it out. I got you.
I'm kind of benevolent either way with it. It's it just doesn't. It's not a super great track for me, but on the other hand, I don't hate it. So.
Okay. Well, anybody want to give a shout out to on that 66?
Hey, all you guys putting on this broadcast, doing a great job. Everybody that's racing out here, what a great turnout. What a great field to race against. Having the time of my life here.
Well, it's been fun watching you guys. I mean, it's exciting every week. So I'm ready to see what you guys have in store next week.
Yeah, shout out to Garrett and Jason, too, for their fine finishes tonight. Garrett took off, and I had nothing for him. So, it was fun.
All righty. Well, we'll let you get back down there.
Thanks.
Yep.
That is your third place finisher here in the M class, the 66 of Randy Ayers. Now we will go to second place, and it is going to be the driver of the 57, Jason Potts. And Jason, a good race out here tonight, and it seemed like this was a track meant for GT3s, but some guys certainly having some issues here at Road Atlanta. So how was it out there for you in the Ferrari? How do you think the car handled the track, and were there any kind of little trouble spots that you had to worry about?
It was scary. I was in a sandwich most of the first stint, and I didn't want to be there.
Well, I would assume you didn't really want to be in the situation you were on that last lap there, as you were in second place and had a nice little cushion, but you were kind of stuck behind a little bit of lap traffic, and it allowed Randy to catch you there a little bit. Were you looking in the mirror? Were you looking at the relative and making sure you were good there?
I wasn't really looking at the relative or anything, but I'm just mindful of guys that might be quicker than me, and not wanting to throw away the whole race with a crash.
Well, it certainly worked out, and we did see some guys have that exact same thing happen. It had the crash just come up and just pushing a little bit too hard. Do you feel like that could have been the some of the issue here tonight? Just guys feeling a little bit more comfortable on this track, maybe having a little bit more experience on this track, and just pushing a little harder than they probably should have.
I think I saw a couple of times when guys were going, side by side in corners that I wouldn't dare. Like I don't know what number it is right now, but like the little blind kink. What is it like? Maybe turn 3 or 4.
Yeah,
something like that.
Anywhere in the S's, I don't think is a good move. Going side by side. But,
yeah, I saw that a couple of times.
Well, you survived here, and it feels like it's what you need to do here in the series so far. I mean, Suzuka, Alton Park, and even here, it's just all about survival, and you survived this one here, coming home in a podium spot as well. So good job out there, running up there in second. Anybody you want to give a shout out to or thanks to before we let you go?
No, I just appreciate the shout out, the interview, and glad I was able to survive this week.
Absolutely survive in advance. So we will go ahead and let you go celebrate the podium here, and we'll see you next week.
All right, thanks. Take care.
That is your second place finisher here in the M class. Going to be the 57 of Jason Potts. And finally, we'll bring in the winner here, and that is going to be the 7 of Garrett Pittman. Joe, why don't you go ahead and take Garrett?
Hey, Garrett, this is Joe in the booth. You got a copy?
What's going on, guys? How are you?
Oh, pretty good. So what does it take to get around here at Road Atlanta?
I would probably say patience. You got your twisty bit, hard passing zones there, but it's always followed up by a straight that gives you a hard braking zone to find something to squeeze by someone. So just having the patience to find those gaps, maybe have someone outbrake themselves. You might be able to get a couple spots.
I think we need to call Road Atlanta and ask them to change the S's to the twisty bit. I think I like that better.
Formal request is being wild right now. So, I mean, you showed speed all year, and just put on an absolute clinic here in the AM class. So, talk us through your race there.
Yeah, so this week we're coming into a track I knew a little bit better. Done some, endurance events here, so got a little bit more track time. So I actually wanted to show up. I was hoping for an overall top 10, just missed it. A couple pro guys just a little too fast for me. So, I got a goal for next time we're here. But yeah, just kind of knowing, like I said, where to kind of see people make their own mistakes. Be patient. Let it kind of come to you. But if you got a little bit of natural speed, it definitely helps.
And it looks like you were third in points coming into this, and first will definitely help boost that as we go forward here. As this will be we're halfway now through the 6-race season. How are you feeling about maybe a points championship?
The rest of the season those last 2 tracks maybe coming off of. I think the actual 12-hour is the weekend before we go to Mount Panorama, so I might already have some more comfortable track time there, so that might be good. But Circuit of the Americas at the end, though, I don't have a lot of track time there, so I gotta start practicing to maybe it might come down to the wire, so I gotta show up for that one.
All righty. Well, anybody want to give a shout out to?
Just the team, XPM, helping me out through this league and stuff, and then of course you guys for doing this broadcast every week.
Yeah, well, we're enjoying ourselves up here a lot. I mean, you guys are putting on a great show every week, and today did not disappoint either. So I'm ready for next week, and we'll see you out there.
Thanks, guys. Have a good one.
That is your winner in the AM class, the 7 of Garrett Pittman. Now heading over to the pro class, we'll start with your third place finisher here tonight, and that's going to be the 404 of Dan Morera. And Dan, it seemed like you guys kind of checked out here a little bit. The top 3 got away somewhat early, but it was a bit of survival out there tonight.
Oh, for sure. After that first lap, all the chaos passed, and my plan was just to keep my nose clean. I know that tire wear was a thing, heating them up. Keeping the rear, getting on power very smoothly was going to be a thing. I was thinking, I didn't do any really fast laps during practice, but I was always trying to not abuse track limits. And I knew some of the guys were, using track limits initially in order to do those lap times. So as the lap continued, I knew I had some fast guys behind me, but as the race went longer, I figured, well, maybe these guys are kind of taking care of those incidents and not being able to go all out. And also, when I did my pit stop, I took rear tires because I knew turn 1 that you lose the rear there so easy. Also, you need to get on power before the back stretch and things like that help. I mean, I like this track a lot. I used to race it when I do IndyCar, so it's one of my favorites.
So you didn't start too far back there. You started 7th overall, but I mean 33 cars out there in the field. If you had to pick one word to describe that first time getting up and going through the S's, what would it be?
Is this a PG-13? Well, it was to me really honest. Everyone was really, really cool around me on those first couple of laps. We were side by side through some of that initial part of the race, and it was hard racing, but really clean, living room. We kind of banged doors a little bit, but it was okay. So for me, everyone was super cool. So and in control. So it couldn't have been nicer.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, I mean, just me and Joe sitting back and looking at the camera view from the bottom of the S's, watching you guys come down through the S's the first time. One, I was happy not being in the car, but it's sexy seeing that many cars coming down through there and coming down through there clean as well, as everybody made it through there, at least the first time cleanly. But you make it through the race, and you are one of the guys that survive. You come home with third place. Do you feel like it's a win out here tonight? Do you feel like maybe you had a little bit more in the tank or no?
Actually, I was talking to Marco and Peter about that. They didn't take tires, I did. So I was gaining on Peter a little by little, like a couple of tenths every lap. And if traffic helped a little, well, it really didn't help me at all. but I was sometimes gaining maybe half a second here and there. Like when I started after the pit stop, I was 6 seconds behind him, if I'm not mistaken, and I ended up just a little over 2 seconds behind, so it was good. And with Marco, it was something like 10 seconds, and I got it down to like 6 or something like that. So had this been a longer race, who knows?
Well, either way, a podium was definitely a good finish with the field out here tonight. So great job on that. Before we let you go, anybody you want to give a shout out to or thanks to on that good-looking 4D Racewear 404 here tonight?
Absolutely. Jim Herrick and 4dracewear.com for letting me race with their paint. If you watch my stream, I always wear their hats, shirts, shoes, gloves, really nice racing stuff. You know, it's cool to have just a couple of shirts I can wear all week long without washing them. They're really light. So I sweat them, just hanging and race them, wear them the next day. It's pretty cool. So yeah, Jim, thank you for letting me race with the 4D colors, and I'm trying not to make a fool of myself on track for you.
Well, may need to let that shirt air out a little bit more after tonight. Only a 40-minute race, but I'm sure you were sweating a little bit at least the first couple laps here. But congratulations on your third place here. We'll let you go celebrate with the boys.
Cool. Thanks, man.
That was your third place finisher in the pro class, the 404 of Dan Morera. Now we will bring in the second place finisher, and Joe, this is going to be at the 997 of Peter Moeller.
Hey there, Peter. You got a copy?
Yes, I hear you.
Hey, we didn't really talk about you too much during the race, but usually that's a good thing. And like kind of been the theme all year so far is just being smooth and not maybe the fastest car. Talk about how you ended up second here tonight.
All a big surprise. I actually drove the Lambo and the Ferrari. I was testing out a few of the different cars. I was faster in those two, but I chose the Porsche because I have a race next week that I'm working towards. So I was trying to get a little bit better.
Is that in the Porsche or just at this track?
Both.
Oh, hey, there you go. Well,
yeah, I'm in another league that runs a week behind.
Okay, so confidence is going to be pretty good going into that race after a second place here tonight.
I hope so.
So you had no idea that you had second tonight, or was I mean?
Well, I was surprised in my qualifying. I really didn't think I was going to qualify P4. So that, a good quality really sets you up. And I tried to play it safe at the start, on the outside, not the preferred spot. So I was trying to be careful at the start there.
Yeah, it seemed like starting up front was the key here because Ponzi, the points leader, started back in 11th, and he had trouble all night long going through, was there 33 cars on track? So once we got spread out a little bit, there was a lot of cars to kind of have to deal with, and you managed to get through just fine. Didn't see any issues with you. So it looks like you were in the top 10 in points, and the second's going to be pushing you up towards the front there. And halfway through this season, what's the outlook on the rest of the year?
Win.
Got to bring it home and win.
Tall order, but win. Yeah, no, this is good. It makes up for last week. I had a bad show last week. So.
Well, it was a tough track. So, anybody want to give a shout out to on that 997?
To you guys at Core and everybody at Casual Racing League. Awesome job. And everybody that comes out. Love the big field.
Right on. Well, we'll let you go, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you much.
And that is your second place finisher in the pro class, the 997 of Peter Moeller. Finally, the man of the hour here tonight is going to be the 11 of Marco Ciccone. And Marco, you did what you had to do in qualifying, and I think that that probably meant as much, if not more, than the pace that you had in the race. But getting up front, how big was qualifying on the pole here with this deep field?
Hey. Yeah, I think that I did a pretty nice quali. In fact, that was like the faster time that I have done in this track so far. Was the perfect lap, and I get the pole. And yeah, that was pretty nice. But at the race, I was not able to do that time. At the end, was like I see the beat hit at the first lap, and I see like I had like 6 seconds, so I tried to push something there, and at the end I was like just managed that gap until the end.
It seemed like he definitely had the most pace out there, but it was the traffic that was going to kind of be the telling tale of how the night was going to go, and it was really tough depending on where you caught the traffic. So how did you feel working through the field once you caught the back of it?
Man, was so hard, to be honest, because it's a small track and there was like 35 people racing. So yeah, was a topic for sure, the traffic management there. But at the end was like, I do prefer to be patient and wait for the right moment to pass them, because otherwise maybe I will commit an error or something like that, and my race was screw up. But at the end, I was able to manage the gap and do the P1. And the other good thing, well, for me, is that Ponzi and Craig didn't that much of point today. And because of my last race was not like my best one, it is helping me to try to catch them up.
Yeah, that was going to be my next point. Ponzi finishing back there in 17th, and Craig only managing a top 10 there. You come in and grab the win. Good chance that you'll be the points leader at the halfway point. But I think the bigger question is, how do you feel about the remaining tracks? I mean, it's just a different type of track every single week that you really got to think about. And the final tracks here on the schedule, Okayama maybe being a little bit easier, but can be a little bit tighter. But then Mount Panorama and Coda to finish out. So what do you feel like the second half is going to look like for you?
Man, the second race from here, Mount Panorama, man, that's the track that I hate the most. And coming down that mountain is so hard for me. I always hit the wall, always, in all the races that I have done there. So yeah, it's a lot of practice for me to try to don't kill myself in the next races. But yeah, the good thing is that as we are follow the GT3 schedule for iRacing, we can like practice some real situation in the regular races. So that for sure is like a good point to practice kind of race pace and that kind of things. But yeah, it's going to be like a hard end for this championship.
Yeah, I mean, I know turn 1 at Mount Panorama is called Hell Corner, but I feel like that corner coming out of the mountain, I agree. It's almost impossible to hit correctly at the time and time again, but you need to. It sets you up for that long straightaway coming out of there. So be very interesting in a couple weeks here. But congrats on the win here tonight. And again, a good chance if you're not at the top of the points, you got to be pretty much right there, right at the halfway points, or right where you want to be. Who do you want to give a shout out to or thanks to on that 11 machine tonight?
Yeah, maybe also to my wife. She has been so patient with me about all the time that I spend practicing and doing my stupidness. But yeah, and yeah, also to the team, Team Raccoon Racing. Just like say hi to all the team there. And yep, that's it, man. Thank you.
I feel like when you get off the sim here and you get to tell the wife that you want it, it makes it a little bit easier. She may not care, but it makes you feel a little bit better that at least the time wasn't wasted.
Yeah. She always asks me like, how that's going? Is it like, for example, the last race was like as always at the back. But yeah, this one is going to be like a good one for me. Maybe I'm going to get a special dinner for this.
There you go. Sounds like a plan. Well, you go celebrate this one, and we'll see you next week at Okayama.
Sure. Thank you, man. Have a good one.
You too. That was your winner here in the pro class, the 11 of Marco Chacon, and a great dominated performance there. Lap traffic tried to hold them up, but that was about the only thing holding them up here tonight. Great run by these boys at CSRL, and Joe, we're already halfway through the season.
I know this. I was just gonna say right before the race, and I feel like the race had just started, and we're already 40 minutes through, and the race was over, and I was like, I don't feel like we got to enough. There was so much going on. So, and we're already halfway through the season. So this is just flying by. These boys are putting on a show every week.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, next week is going to be Okayama for these guys. Another track that is familiar probably to most, if not all, as it is one of the free tracks here on iRacing. So I'm sure these guys have turned at least a lap or two on that one. But that doesn't always mean it's going to be easy for these guys, since everybody has experience. It's going to be that much tighter. So make sure you tune into that one next week. That is going to kick off the second half of this season, and we'll see who the players are and who are going to step up to try and win the championship here in both classes. But fun race here tonight. Certainly some guys licking their wounds after this one, but it was a fun watch either way, and we've seen some good battling there, especially in the pro class there at the end, from 5th on back to 8th. Thank everybody for tuning in here tonight. If you haven't done so yet, hit that like and subscribe. Help us get up there to that 1K mark, as we're starting to get a little bit closer and closer, as next week we will be at our 2-year anniversary here for CRN, as we've been broadcasting for 2 years officially next week. And it's been fun this whole time, and we appreciate everybody that's been joining us for this time. Thank you to 4D Racewear for sponsoring the series for these boys out here, as I'm already ready for Okayama next week. Hopefully you guys are as well. Join us next week. But for myself and Joe here at Road Atlanta, we'll see you at the track.